Okay, I want to talk about civilization, and this is with a little bit with ZZZ threes in mind, Zach, I guess, and and also in general. Okay, well, first of all, when we're talking about if civilization is good or bad, or if the world, the natural world was better off before or after civilization, we have to define civilization. Semantics. Yes, we have to define a civilization, and it's basically like this. First of all, civilization has been total crap. Okay, and it's been living in cities and enabling a certain kind of industrialization that includes slavery. So civilization, as we know it, is a bad thing. That's what I think. Um, but it's and so that's even before semantics. I just loosely speaking already, just civilization as we've seen it. It's a bad thing. Not entirely bad. There's a lot of good aspects to it, so we can see what's bad, and that was where the semantics starts to come in because um, we can either civilization's being bad, but I think we can organize in a different way that wouldn't be bad. Then the question's going to be, well, do we want to call this other way of organizing civilization? Do we want to call it a new understanding of civilization? Do we want to call it civilization but with the qualifier, or it's civilization 2.0, or it's enlightened civilization? Or do we just want to give up the word civilization? Does civilization mean something? Is there some framework in the idea of civilization that should just be discarded, and we should call that something else? Okay, so I mean, my point is basically civilization, as we understand it, has been bad, but we can organize in a better way. Now, humans should be caretakers of the world. Yeah, it's not that the world needs a caretaker is per se, except for that what it needs is for human beings to have a better attitude. And the attitude we ought to have is that we're caretakers, because then we'll care about the earth. And we need like 99% of people to have this caretaking attitude of the earth in order to take the steps necessary to work hard on sustainability. Um, so, I think civilization can be redeemed in that way. If we built an organization of human cooperation in cities, the civilization is really the building of cities in a way. Um, if we did that right, with the idea that we are supposed to be caretakers, that we're supposed to help the planet, that we're supposed to make it possible for ourselves to survive, we're supposed to help as many animals as possible survive. If we have that attitude, then we will uh, tend to go towards an organization that will be a better organization than what we've known as civilization so far. We don't have to call it civilization, but unlike terms like objectivity that I want to get rid of because of the framing, I don't see civilization as having a bad framing. I mean, there's a lot of good ideals in civilization: to be civil to someone, to be decent, to be polite to strangers, to people you don't know, because you're in a civil society. That's a good thing, and we just haven't lived up to that. Okay, but so unlike objectivity, which leads us in this direction of thinking we can know things in themselves, the idea of civilization is can lead, the framing there can still lead to something good, where it's about knowing how to cooperate with each other. Okay, so I don't think the term civilization has to be abandoned. On the other hand, I'm not against it. I mean, if you want to call this kind of organization something else so that it can be distinct, so that we can make a distinction between civilization as it's been theorized and built so far, and the classical idea that some people still support, just like some people still support, perpetual war as the paradigm for human interaction. Okay, maybe we want to be distinct from that and create a new term. Tell me the new term. I'll give a try, using it. But the basic point is just that what can humanity do? We're going to evolve either a new kind of civilization or a new kind of organization, and it can be good, and it needs to have this caretaking attitude. And that's why I don't think nature per se needs that, but I think the world needs that, considering we're in the world, and it needs that so that we're good citizens with our intellect. We can't just go, I mean, a lion can just go about its business, kill what it wants to eat, and etc. Um, even kill in situations where a human would not say it was warranted. territorialism or whatever. Maybe it's a blurry line, maybe it's warranted, maybe not. We can't do that. Our intellects are such that we cannot just act on that level. We have to get a higher abstract understanding of why we all want to work with nature and fit into nature better. And so we're going to get this new idea of civilization or new idea of organization. Nature on its own, it can be a very terrible thing as well. And for many animals, we're not trying to change that. But for humans and for domestic animals, we are setting up an environment where we're not as vulnerable to random predation and the kinds of tragedy that are involved with that. We can change whether or not we are a prey animal of certain predators, and to do so responsibly requires some idea that we can call civilization. But if we do call it that, yeah, I agree. It has to be a part of a reform movement of understanding civilization a different way. So let's talk about what way would you want to understand civilization. Just going back to the jungle, that won't work because we're really good at the jungle. We beat the jungle. So now we go back to the jungle and what? We just crush it? I mean, that's what happens if we just leave things how they are now. No, we have to have an understanding where we go back to nature with an enlightened view and don't crush it. We help it sustain. We don't just use it, we help it sustain. And to do that requires us to adopt a caretaking attitude towards the biosphere.